you have a story, you want a reading, you want me to help you with your life, you have a health problem that you can't put your finger on, and you're like, why is my shoulder constantly in problem? And you want me to read it and you want me to get into it. I'm not that medical expert, but I can tell you where the emotion is attached to it. I think you'll be surprised at how powerful that is. So I would love to hear from you. Go to lisawilliams.com/podcast-guest and we will get you on the show.
Hi everyone. Before we begin, I want to let you know that this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. The advice and insights shared here are based on my personal experiences and expertise, but they are not a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, or business advice. If you are dealing with a specific issue, please consult a qualified expert. And thanks for watching.
Welcome to Hope, Healing and Transformation. I'm Lisa Williams, and today we're talking about something that every one of us has, but not everyone knows how to use it, and that's intuition. You know that feeling where you just know something? Maybe you get this weird vibe from someone, maybe you feel compelled to take a different route home, or when you sense a loved one needs you without any logical explanation. Well, that's your intuition in action. It's talking to you. And here's the thing. Your intuition is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Now, I want to share a story that changed my life, forever. And it was the night I had to make a choice, or really, do I follow my mom's advice or do I listen to my own situation, my own gut? And my mum kept saying, don't go out tonight. It's too soon. I just left this awful relationship. But I couldn't shake this feeling. And so I said, no, I'm going out tonight because I just have a feeling I'm going to meet someone who's going to change my life. And I remember it. And at that time, I wasn't working as a professional psychic medium. I'd done many readings, a little bit of fun, playing around with my girlfriends. But it was really, I was listening to my gut. And that was the night I followed my intuition. And that's when I met my son's father, Simon. And honestly, my life shifted in so many ways I could never imagine. And it was all because I trusted that little feeling that I could not explain. So today we're going to dive into intuition and how it works, the science, all the spiritual ways, everything behind it. And most importantly, I'm going to guide you through some simple exercises to help you start trusting that inner compass every single day. So let's talk about the science behind this. Intuition is often described as knowing without knowing how you know. So it's like, I know that you know that you know that I know. It's all of that weirdness. Now, research shows that our brain processes information subconsciously before picking up patterns and cues long before we consciously are aware of them. It is that connection between the brain and the gut, and it's through the vagus nerve. Our body actually knows things before our brain has a conscious idea of it. So we have to recognize that our intuition is a key and crucial part of our survival. And studies also suggest that intuition plays a critical role in decision making. Even high-stake professionals like medicine and military strategy, they all use intuition. And I can tell you many stories about this. Now, from a spiritual standpoint, intuition is often seen as our direct line to our higher self, our spirit guides, universal collective consciousness, all of these things. But let me help you with the science. The amygdala, which is this tiny part of our brain, which is responsible for our fight and flight, okay, is that part that creates freezes us. And our prefrontal cortex here work together. And what they do is they evaluate past experiences and environmental cues around us to give us intuitive insights. When we ignore our intuition, we dismiss this huge, powerful brain process. And it's really trusting this part of us that we have. It's actually our brain processes. So when you listen to your intuition, you're actually not recognizing the power of your own brain and your own body. You have the power within you to make these decisions. So let's discuss what our intuition is. I mean, it is this powerful, powerful tool. Now, being someone who has been a psychic medium for years, and I have used my intuition in so many ways, I will teach people how to do this. In fact, let me tell you a quick story. My grandmother, this is really funny. My grandmother used to get paid to come over to America from the UK once a year to sit in the CEO's business meetings. And she would actually sit there and go, yeah, no, because she used her intuition and he trusted her and his own gut instincts on what was happening. Now, there's so many ways that I can say to you when intuition is key. And I kind of feel like I should tell you a story. There's two that come to mind, but I'm going to share the story about how I met Charlie's dad, because I feel that this is a powerful, powerful piece that will help you. And then I'm going to tell you the story about 9/11, because I think there's a part of it that is so key, and it has a massive part to play in my life, and I didn't realize how big it was going to be. So intuition, I wasn't working as a psychic medium. I had no idea. I don't even know what I was doing. In fact, I just left a job. I was selling timeshare. I was selling timeshare. Okay, please don't judge me, anyone. All right, please do not. But it was great. And I had just left this awful relationship. In fact, I had walked out of my wedding 2 weeks before I was due to walk down the aisle. All right. So it was disastrous. And I had had cancer. It was awful. And I just didn't trust this person at all. And my gut was saying to me, do not trust. And so I went to work this one day. And I said to my fiance at the time, I said, I don't want to break up. I'm just not ready to have this relationship. I'm just not ready to marry you. There was 16 years difference. I was 24 and it was really not good. Okay. And I made quite an adult decision, or what I thought. And everything was fine. That day I came home from work after the night before. Okay. I came home from work the following day, and all of my stuff, everything that I had owned, like my handbags, my makeup, my perfume, my clothes, my everything except for what I was standing up in, and my computer, which was one of those big, big things, had gone. And he had taken it, and to this day I still don't know where it is or where it went. And he'd taken it all, and it was traumatic. It was horrible. And so I went back home. That's all I knew what to do, is I went back home. And this was on a Wednesday. I never forget it. And so on the Saturday, I went back to my mum and dad's house. I'm living in this tiny little bedroom of my parents' house, and with me and my computer and the thing that I was standing up in. And I have a story about angels, which I'll tell you another day, because I trust in angels from this whole story. And truly, my mom had said to me on that Saturday night, she's like, where are you going? I said, I'm going out with my friend Dee. We're going to karaoke. She's running this karaoke. And she's like, I really think it's too soon for you to go out. I really think you should just have some time, calm down. It's been a really high stressed relationship. And I think you do. And I said, and I remember standing in the kitchen. I remember exactly where, you know, when you have those moments and you can actually see where you are. It was that. And I sat there and I stood there and I said, no, Mom, I think I'm going to meet somebody tonight who's going to change my life. Well, I never forget it. I'm on stage, I'm singing. So I used to be a professional singer. So I'm on stage and I'm singing. And I see this random guy walk in with his 2 bottles of wine into this big party, not looking around and going, oh my God, what have I walked into? And that was it. And that was Charlie's dad, Simon. And we got talking, you know, and we decided that we were going to go out on a date, which happened to be the first date that I went out on him was supposed to be my wedding day. You can't make this shit up, can you? So anyway, lo and behold, several months later, I find out I'm pregnant. And what was interesting is I was told I could not have children. So I knew that this man, or I didn't really know, but this thing, that my intuition was speaking to me. Now, I can tell you time and time again when your intuition speaks to you. Working as a psychic medium, you know, I have to trust my intuition. And that is the key to developing any spiritual gift. It is actually let me go way back. The key is your breath, actually. You can, when you take a breath and you breathe, it actually opens up all of this stuff, all of your gifts within you. It is huge. But we'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to tell you this one. I never forget it. I remember a client saying to me, now, I used to do readings professionally, and I used to have readings like you couldn't get in with me for 6 months, okay? And I remember doing this reading, and I remember actually trusting my intuition. And this guy called me up, Andy, and he's like, Lisa, hi, it's Andy, I need a reading. And intuitively and instinctively, I knew he needed a reading like ASAP. Now, I kind of have boundaries, all right? So I don't let anybody encroach in my boundaries, but I broke a boundary here and I got him in pretty much within 3 days. I said, Andy, do you have to go to New York? And he's like, of course I have to go to New York, Lisa. Do you know how much is riding on this deal? And I went, okay, can you do me a favor? You may not even get your flight. And he looked at his phone and he looked in his calendar and he said, well, that's not going to happen. My flight is like first thing in the morning. And I was like, Andy, if there is a problem on the way down to your flight, do not get onto there. You're going to be stopped all the way. And he's like, okay, whatever, Lisa. And I said, and you're almost going to miss your flight. And he's like, yeah. Well, 4 o'clock in the morning, something had happened on the motorway, like the freeway in America, but big motorway in the UK. And he almost missed his flight. Now, if that wasn't one reason or 2 reasons, because there was something else that happened, for him not to get on that plane, I don't know what was. So in the next breath, in the reading, I said to him, if you get to New York, can you change your breakfast meeting, please? Please change your breakfast meeting. And he said, okay, I'll change my breakfast meeting if all of this stuff happens. Well, because all of this stuff happened, he changed his breakfast meeting. And I said to him, I said, Andy, I don't like giving bad information, but the world is going to crumble around your ears. And he didn't know what to say. And I said, there's going to be frantic phone calls from your family. I said, and you're not going to California. He's like, well, of course I'm going to California. I went, you're not. Well, that's when it happened. He changed his breakfast meeting from the Twin Towers on Tuesday, September 11th. because he listened to me. He was involved in this and he survived because he changed his breakfast meeting. No, of course he didn't go to California. Of course there were frantic phone calls, and of course he couldn't get out of America when he was supposed to. And it was crazy. But that was a time where I listened to my intuition, not because I'm a psychic, because trust me, as a psychic, I don't always listen to my intuition, but because I was a psychic, but because I was a psychic, he came to me, but I also listened to my intuition and got him in. Please don't judge me for what I'm about to say. If I have one appointment and I have two clients, one wanting mediumship and one wanting psychic, I'm always going to take the psychic first. And the reason is because it's a situation like that in New York where I have helped someone and potentially saved their life and given someone hope, which is the reason why we call this hope, healing and transformation, but given someone hope that I will take that client, because please don't judge me. That person's still going to be dead tomorrow. I can't change that. Okay? I can always give that. I can always help somebody in the moment speak to their loved one tomorrow. But I can save or change someone's life in the day. And that is the key. And so listening to your intuition is absolutely key. It is vital. There are so many times that I have ignored it. And I'm sure you have too. And I ask you, why have you ignored it? Simply because, oh, I could be wrong. Well, no, there's no logical explanation. We all think logically, okay? And logic doesn't come into it. As we understand science, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex work together. Our body gets signals, our body feels something, our body knows something before our brain can process it. And so we are ignoring our intuition, our safety. It is our survival. Your survival is key, or your intuition is key to your survival on this earth. You know, it's true. How many times have you said, I don't want to go to this thing, or I don't want to do this? How many times have you had that gut feeling that you're like, this isn't right? You have to listen to it. And now I truly set an intention with everything that I do. You know, if I have to make a big decision, whatever it is, okay? Actually, this was a big decision about doing this podcast. All right, let's just share with you. This show was a big decision. When my producer came to me, Ray, and he's like, Lisa, I want to do a show with you. And I was like, okay. And we started to talk about it. This was a big decision. I sat with it. And as much as I said I would love to, before I actually went in seriously and we dived in, I sat with it for some time and I went, ooh. And I knew that it was going to be a huge time commitment. I knew it was going to give me this feeling of like, I don't know, this could actually change my life. And I just sat with it and I just had this resounding, you have to do this. Now you might be sitting here and saying, well, you're Lisa Williams and this is what you do. Well, yeah, it is. It is exactly what I do. But do you know how hard it is to read for myself? I can't. God, I wish I could. I would have saved myself thousands on psychics and mediums. But sometimes we need to know. And that's the reason why people come to psychics and mediums. It's not because they don't know. It's actually because we are confirming what you already know. That's all it is. Because the average person out there is like, well, I might be right. I might be wrong. You know, who knows? I can tell you time and time again how many times I've actually ignored my intuition and how many times I've actually listened to it. And each time I've listened to it, I've been right. And the times I've ignored it, I've kicked myself. Now, some people will actually say, you know, why what is this intuition? The intuition is very powerful, but what if I have to go and do this? What if I've ignored my intuition and I've gone down the pathway and I've had to do this, or my lesson to learn this? Well, great. I'm sure there was probably an easier way to learn the lesson. Just saying. We got to think about this stuff. So we doubt our intuition all the time. And I'm going to help you kind of understand how you're going to work with your intuition. So, all my psychics and mediums out there, and all of my people that I train in intuition go, what if I'm wrong? What if you're right? How easy would life be? Wouldn't it be easier for you to be right? And listen, you're not going to say, I told you so. Although I do to my friends. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to my friends, whoever's listening. Amanda, Amy, Karen. I'm so sorry, Janie. I'm so sorry. All right, because I will say, well, some would think I was psychic here, but I do. However, we have this fear of being wrong. I take my friend Amanda. I adore her. And she's like, she bought a house and she was like, I said, Amanda, this is not your house. She's like, I know. I don't know. I love it. And she was fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. And she changed the kitchen. She changed the whole house. Listen, she threw a ton of money into this house. And then one day she said, I don't know whether to say this to you. I went, what? She said, this is not my house. I went, oh. I'm like, I know, I told you this, but that's okay. And she didn't want to be wrong. Well, this weekend she's moving into her new house that she found that she knows is her house. Now, don't get me wrong, she needed the other house as an interim. I get it. But she didn't want to be wrong. And our ego has a massive part to play in this. One of the things that if you have a situation, let's say you're supposed to be going out to dinner and you're supposed to be going somewhere and you're just like intuitively you feel not. If you are going out with friends and they say to you, well, why aren't you coming? Oh, come on, just come on. And you say to them, you know what? Something tells me I shouldn't come tonight. Something tells me. Well, don't go. And if they're your friends, they'll understand. And if they're not your friends, then they won't understand. And then you'll have to question their friendship. But if you say, listen, this is not something I feels right for me. It doesn't feel good for me. Then just do it. Just stay home. Stay away. Because what we've been taught in society is that logic is the key. And it's really not. Logic is not. Logic does not overpower our instinct. We should always listen to our instinct. It's those times that we don't feel safe. And yet you're like, well, logically, I mean, this is safe. Logically, of course, the data is there. Well, data doesn't mean everything. Data is important, but we actually need to trust our intuition. Our intuition is so key. And this ego part of it, we have an ego where, we have to listen to that part of us. I've just touched on it. It's our mind that thinks things thinks things through. Our mind is our ego. And it will play with logic, and it will play with this fear, and it will play with this feeling. But we have to trust our body. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. Stop. Time and time again, we listen to trusted experts. However, and I had a client this morning where she asked me, Lisa, should I have the operation? I am not here to tell somebody whether or not to have an operation. It's not my body. It's their body. And she said, my my surgeon wants me to have the operation. She said, but I don't feel I should. I said, well, you need to trust it. Trust it. Listen to it. It's your body. If somebody is telling you to do something and it is not feeling right for you, don't do it. Don't do it. Your intuition is going to feel calm. It's going to feel grounded. It's going to feel solid. Anxiety feels frantic. It feels like you're just following a pattern, and it can give you this moment of like, I feel really anxious about it. So I want you to use your own discernment. So I'm going to show you how to trust your intuition. And when you question if it's your own little voice in your head or you're overthinking it, this is the key. So let's do this simple practice. And it's super easy. Now, whenever I am working with a client or my nose starts to itch, it's like I've got cobwebs on my face. And that is when my intuition starts like, woo, getting out there. And that's when I start becoming very, very connected to spirit. So we're going to do this simple exercise. If you are driving, do not do it right now, okay? But if you are at home, or if you're relaxing, if you're on a plane or wherever you are and you're listening to me or you're watching me, you can just relax right now, okay? So I want you to find this quiet space, and I just want you to completely relax, close your eyes. Just allow yourself just to have these eyes closed and take a deep breath. You may want to put your hand on your chest and just feel yourself, your chest rise underneath your hand and lower underneath. So just rise up, breathe in, exhale down, just release. And what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you've got these roots out of your feet. You're anchoring yourself into the earth. If you're sitting down, imagine that your spine is growing down into the earth. Imagine that you are really starting to sit up tall. Your energy is anchoring yourself into this ground. You're safe, you're secure, and you're stable. So just trust this. And now I want you to, with your hand on your heart, I want you to ask yourself, what is it that I need to know today? What is it I need to know today? And without thinking, without question, I want you to, and without judgment, I want you to notice the first word that comes, the first image that comes, the first idea that floats by. I want you to see whatever it is. Don't analyze these thoughts. Don't analyze these feelings. Just allow it to drift in slowly. And you may be wondering, I'm not getting anything. Well, just having this space to breathe is going to help you. So just take this moment and just breathe. Just trust. And in this moment, allow yourself just to breathe in whatever information you've been giving or been given. And just write it down if you want. You don't need to use it right now. You can trust it for later. And what I want you to do is just come back and breathe into the center of you and just say, okay, I'm trusting that. And I want to try and make it logical here. So I want you to recognize our 6 senses. We have sight, we have hearing, we have our smell, we have our taste, we have our touch, and we have this sense of knowing. Every sense is alive. It's our psychic senses. Our psychic senses are working for us. And when we are connected to these psychic senses, when we're connected to what it is that we need, you're going to find that you're going to start using these psychic senses. So I want you to just think about it. I'm going to start telling, I've told you a story. I've told you lots of stories. I've told you information. And you might go, I really get that. Or, I see what she means. Or, I hear what she's saying. I want you to listen to the language that you often use. Is it, I see what you're saying, I hear you, or I understand you, or I get it? I want you to think about that language. Your language that you are using is actually the secret source, the secret key into how you're going to get your information. Me, I like to say, I hear what you're saying, which tells me I'm really visual, auditory. I hear things. Then some people might say, I see what you mean. Might be very, very visual. I know how you feel. They might be very much in that feeling sense, that touch, that feeling. Or I get it. They just know. I'm going to ask you a question such as, how are you feeling today? And you're going to naturally hear me and answer me back. Okay? Now, if you can't hear, I would be signing that and you would answer me back. We have our own natural way of communicating, but our intuition works very differently because we may ask ourselves a question and we expect to hear it back because that's how we in society have conditioned ourselves to hear things. It's in that moment that actually that goes out of the window. Because when we ask ourselves, hey, what do I need today? Then you might hear it in your own ear. You might see an image. You might feel something. You might taste something. You might smell something. You might look at something and go, it's a sign. There's so many different ways. We've got to uncondition ourselves from a social aspect into more the intuitive aspect. So for me, I know that when I ask and I pause and then I hear it, I'm going to get the answer. Now, here's the key, because you're going to say to me, how do I know it's me? And how do I know it's like not me thinking it? All right, so here's the answer. You ask yourself a question such as, should I change my job? And if that answer steps on the question, such as, should I change my job? Yes. Then that's your intuition. If you do, should I change my job? Pause. Yes. That's you thinking into it. So what you might need to do is reframe your question to it being, is this the right job for me? And then you might get an absolute yes, or you might get an absolute no. And that's how you're going to know whether it's the right thing. So am I in the right relationship? I heard a yes even before I finished relationship in my head. Or should I leave this relationship? Should I leave? And I got a no. All right. So thankfully my husband and I are okay. Okay. But I got that no. Now, if I am questioning it, is my relationship the right relationship for me? And I finish the question, then I get a beat and I answer it. That's when I'm questioning and my brain has kicked in. So remember that it's a key difference. Okay. These things are going to save your life in the moment. Just take a breath. Calm your mind, be still, because your intuition cannot work from an anxiety space. Your intuition needs calm. And even if it's in that moment of calm, your instinct's going to kick in and your intuition is going to ride. It will save your life. So listen, your intuition is your inner compass, okay? You got to trust it, even when you don't have all the facts. It knows what your logical mind doesn't. All right. So I'm going to say, let's do something daily. Start small. Ask your intuition simple questions such as, what should I wear today? Who should I check in on? And then follow your answers. You have to learn to trust yourself. That, you'd be surprised at how you know so much. Follow the answer you feel, not what you think. It really can save your life. So I would love to have you on my show. I would love you to share your intuitive experiences with me on all the socials, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and all of these things. So ask me questions, submit your questions there. All right, we're going to take them all in. I would love to have you on the show. I would love to know your story, how I can help you. Let me give you a reading. How fun would that be? So go to lisawilliams.com/podcast-guest. Okay, we're going to put the link for you. It'll be super easy. I would love to have you on the show. So next time, we're going to talk about how we can set boundaries and actually create space for joy, healing, and of course, transformation. So thank you for joining me today. And remember that hope is not a wish. It's a decision to believe in something better. And together we'll find that hope and we'll make it a reality. So until next time, trust yourself, listen to that inner voice, and keep shining your light.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, the information shared on this podcast is meant to inspire and support you, but it's not a replacement for personalized advice from a qualified professional. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to tune in next time. Until then, take care and keep believing in something better.